Hey everybody, it is Becky Pearson with Pivot Point of View, and I'm joined with my good friend and co-host Destri Millsap today. And today we are going to talk about a little more serious topic than what we normally cover. Something that's kind of been on my heart this summer, with a lot of people facing this. It's not a new subject. It's not anything that we really like to talk about, but I think it's something that we definitely need to talk about. And so it's about suicide awareness and mental health in ag and the cowboy culture. And so, as difficult as it is to visit about, it's very important to be aware and know that Destry and I are not mental health counselors. We are not mental health therapists. But we have people that are very close to our hearts that have been affected by this. And I'm sure each and every one of you listening to this has also been affected. I hope you haven't, and I hope you never will be, but maybe we can just bring some awareness to it, some signs that you can look for, and just, give you some ideas as to if you're worried about somebody, some resources for helping them through a rough patch for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's so many things in the world right now that can just absolutely weigh on a person. And so checking in with your people, seeing how they're doing, or recognizing people that are withdrawing from family and friends, or just, letting themselves go, or are having any type of depression, anxiety, and stuff that is just out of their personality. I mean, check in with those people, check on them, and see what's been going on with them. You never know who might be dealing with some sort of financial distress, or any type of problem in this world can really just weigh on a person. And it seems like they all come at once and compile on each other, and then before you know it, you kind of feel isolated and alone, and a lot on your plate, and with nowhere to turn, and a long road to go, especially people that have chronic pain or injury too. I mean, it can really mentally take a toll on those people. So it's just always good to keep an eye on your people, check in with them, see how they're doing, and just be a good support system for them.
Absolutely. I wanted to share some statistics because I had to look this up. So, farmers, ranchers, and egg workers have suicide rates 1.5 to 2 times higher than the general population. Um, you know, Many factors are involved with that. Think about the weather. Like, there's so many things that I think people in ag feel like they have no control over. Weather, the markets, money, pressure to keep the family ranch going, when there's like no income, when you're devastated by losses, let's say fire, or just, things out of your control, financial stresses. And it also affects our beloved vets, the vets that take care of our horses and the ones that, we call in the middle of the night because our great horse, has just decided to try to commit suicide themselves. It seems like horses are trying to do this as well. But vets actually are 2 to 3.5 times higher than the general population in their suicide rates. And female vets are 3.5 times higher. Male vets are 2 times higher. And so, like, if we think about that as well, a lot of times for the amount of hours that they work and, the pay that they get really per hour, their pay is not as high as like a doctor or something like that. They're always having to be compassionate. They always have to be the one that has the listening ear. The long hours lead to fatigue, even like the stress of having to put animals down, like how does that affect them? So like euthanasia stress. And then the other thing is like they have access to the drugs to do it very easily. And so it's it is very scary to think that some of the best people on this earth, the people that are in the egg industry, carry around these burdens. And so many times they're told, oh, cowboy up, or, just rub some dirt on it, or, yeah, it's a long ways from your heart, or whatever, whatever those sayings are that kind of just make us stuff our emotions down and really not open up to people because we don't want to be seen as weak. We don't want to be seen as not brave. And, one of the bravest things you can do is to reach out to someone if you are struggling. Whether it is a counselor that you are pretty anonymous with, or a friend, really, this day and age, there's no reason for anyone to feel like they can't go for help. Sometimes when we live in these rural areas, a good counselor, in many years, a good counselor wasn't available to us. But quite honestly, um, you hear the ads a lot of times on these podcasts for BetterHelp, and it's betterhelp.com. It's not an ad, but I will attest to the quality of the therapy on that. As I was going through my divorce, I needed a counselor to talk to. I needed to talk to somebody to get out of my head and to make sure that what I was feeling and thinking was that I wasn't going crazy, and I'm not too proud to admit that. And so really, like I said, in this day and age, if you have a phone, we just did telephone calls. I oftentimes did it sitting in my car. I was at work, I'd go out and sit in my car and have my counseling appointment. And so you really, as long as you have cell phone service or a phone line of some kind, you can have help. You can get help. And so um, there's so many ways that there's help available to people right now.
Definitely. And there is a suicide hotline number, dial 988, and that will take you directly to somebody that can help you or help you manage a suicide situation. So if somebody calls you and they're having suicidal thoughts, you're not sure what to say or how to get to them, stay on the phone with them, add the 988 call into the three-way call, and they can help you de-escalate that situation. And definitely, just try to make it to that person and, you know, get them the help that they need and make sure that they get there. There's so many things out there that can just help with the awareness of what to do in those situations. And it might be people that you have no idea that they would ever feel this way. They could be the happiest person in the world to everybody else and be struggling with something under the surface. And so, um, but 988 is the number for the suicide hotline.
Yeah, and you can call it or text it. The resources that I pulled up said you could text that line as well. And then there's also the Farm Aid hotline, 1-800 Farm Aid, and that's AID. They also can provide some resources for you, and just like know that you're not alone. Through some of the toughest times in my life, what I realized is, I may have felt very lonely without people around me, but I always knew that God was there. And so, whether you have a deep faith or not, even if you don't, I always believed in God, but I tell you what, the real struggles in my life were the times when it showed me that He is really there for me. And so, you might feel completely alone, but you really are not alone at that point.
And there's no need to be embarrassed about not being able to handle certain situations versus, because what one person can handle is different than what the next person can handle. And it seems like anymore, there's just not enough education on coping strategies, problem solving, and managing stress. I mean, those things should be things that you would think that they would teach in school or, anywhere, that's readily available to help people learn those strategies to help manage stress and cope with hard situations. And I think maybe just the lack of education on how to do that might be part of the reason why we see the increase in suicide rates.
Yeah, for sure. And you talked about it earlier, some of the signs to watch for, the hopeless talk, I'd be better off if I wasn't here, or, I'm done kind of things. Big mood swings. I think about Robin Williams, like I don't know that anybody's seen that one coming. That guy always seemed like, not that I know him personally, but I mean, just that public persona, always happy, always the life of the party. And those are the kind of people that a lot of times they put this persona on to hide a lot of the pain. And they want to be the life of the party so they feel joy, and but then behind closed doors maybe they're a totally different person. And so when you see those drastic mood swings, know that there's some issues there. And alcohol or drug use usually makes that much worse. And so if you see somebody with drastic mood changes, they're drinking more, they're starting to use drugs, like those are all signs that they are out of control. They are trying to numb some pain somewhere in their life, and they do need to talk to somebody about that. Um, and it is not a conversation that any of us want to have, but I think, it's okay to say, are you okay? That might be the easiest way to open that door, because it is okay to not be okay. And it is okay to let people in. And even if they don't talk, maybe it's a matter of you just sharing, hey, I do worry about you. I care about you. I love you, like those kinds of things. Because maybe they don't love themselves anymore, or maybe they don't think anybody cares about them. So even if they aren't willing to talk, if you can at least let them know that you do really care about them and you care about their well-being, and you're there for them if they ever need anything.
And with the ways of the world right now with cancel culture and the social media stuff, I mean, we all just got to get our mind around supporting each other because that's the way the Western industry has been forever. Is it's been one of the most supportive cultures out there. I mean, the rodeo community, especially, is one of those communities that anytime somebody needs help, there's never a question. You're always jumping in to help people and support them in any way you can. So I think just trying to have that spirit of love and support for everybody in the industry and wanting them all to succeed. And just checking on them if they lost a horse or they lost somebody or they had some sort of major crisis in their life or they're going through an injury or anything like that. Just any way that you can help support them, just be there for them and try to pick them up.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't be ashamed of that. Don't be worried if you're gonna step on their toes. It's I appreciated the people that reached out to me while I was going through my divorce so much, because people don't really know what to say most of the time, so they just say nothing. And I appreciated the people that had the guts to reach out and check on me. So I was never suicidal. I will have to, I'm thankful for that. But just knowing that somebody cared was really very, very appreciated. I want to lead with a couple Bible verses again. I don't know where your faith is, but I think even people that are struggling that don't have faith or don't know God could really benefit from some of these verses. Matthew 11:28, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. It's a good reminder that Jesus wants our heavy loads and can help carry them. Psalms 34:18, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. The Lord doesn't necessarily guarantee we're going to have an easy life. He doesn't. There are guaranteed trials in this life. But if we can hook our hope on having a relationship with him and building that relationship, then that's where we really truly gain our salvation, and he can ease the pain and the burdens, and like even this spring, I mean, I hate to sound like I'm really down in the dumps because I'm not. But like this spring, I had storm damage, I had hail, I had some bad news from some financial stuff, like, and it all came like the month of May. And um dang, like I just remember walking around her place looking at all the stuff I needed to do to get caught up from it. And I could see where if you had a depressive type of personality, or you struggled with depression, like that could have it did wear on me. And I'm kind of a half, the glass is half full kind of girl, and so just, yeah, if you know that somebody is going through something, just please do check on them for sure.
I mean, it's such a hard topic to try to navigate, and our hearts go out there to everyone that's dealt with these situations or had somebody that they've lost or anything like that. Man, our hearts go out to you. And again, we're no expert on this subject, but it does need to be talked about and talked about more. And I think, just again, it's never easy to do, but just practicing gratitude and praying and just being thankful for where you're at and how you got there. Those can be good foundations for picking yourself back up and getting back on the right track. So,
Absolutely. It's the sun comes up every single morning, and it's, you know, just you just got to get to it. And there's a lot of people that don't get the opportunity to get up and see that sunrise. And so um please, yeah, just listen to somebody when they have troubles, and just try to make sure that they know that you're there, and you'll be there any time of the day for them. So we thank you all for listening, and sorry this is probably kind of a Debbie Downer type of a topic, but we definitely thought it was very important. And again, we're not mental health counselors. We're just people loving this Western lifestyle. And we definitely see a need for more people to continue to build each other up, to check on each other, be there in the hard times for each other. And even if you don't know what to say, just saying, hey, checking on you, because that does mean a lot. So, we thank you all for listening. And as always, let your health and your discipline be the pivot point to your success.